Welcome back to another development tour. I have finally made it. I am in the valleys. It's very picturesque, but I'm not here for what looks nice. Like any developer, I want to see the rough and ready. So I am joined by
Jamie, Boxall Homes.
Jamie from Boxall Homes. Now, Jamie has been in the valleys for a year.
Yeah, just over a year.
And in that year, this is project number 3.
Yeah.
You have 2 more in legals.
Yeah.
So that's potentially 5 purchases within a year. You're not from here originally.
No, we're not.
So in this video, we're gonna find out why you came to the valleys, what it's like working with a partner, and for, you know, the most important part, what are the numbers like? Do we make money here? So should we go inside and see what you're doing?
Let's do it.
So, coming inside, I can see there's a lot of work going on. Before we get into like your strategy and all those other things we spoke about outside, this specific purchase, what made you buy this property?
So this specific purchase, the reason why we bought this, as you saw as you drove in, this is probably one of the biggest and busiest high streets in South Wales valleys.
Yeah.
There's a school over the road, and our predominant strategy is buy to let. So we just thought it's an ideal property for that strategy, and mainly because it was cheap.
Okay, so good price, good location,
Yeah.
good local amenities. I don't mean to be rude about your property, but it was also, you know, it's not the nicest at the moment when you come in. So what were some of the issues? And you said cheap. Like, was it on the open market? Was it direct to vendor? How did you actually find the property?
So we, during our time sort of spending, travelling up to South Wales, doing viewings and whatnot, we built some really strong relationships with estate agents. And that was where this property came from. It was a direct from an estate agent. Sort of we got first pickings of this property. And we basically got an hour to decide whether we wanted it or not.
Okay.
So we had to make some quick decisions, quick spreadsheet, quick comparable numbers. And there's some strong comparables around here for the end values. So we thought, yeah, let's crack on and do it.
So I saw there were some issues with some damp, particularly at the front of the property. Is that quite common in these buildings?
Totally. So with any building in South Wales, obviously not forgetting this property was built in the 1900s for generally coal miners, and the stone they use is, albeit it's beautiful, but it's really, really porous, so it sucks in a lot of water. So from the outside, as you can see, we were going to render, and some of the neighbouring properties have K-rendered the front or pebble dashed, whatever you want to call it. But we're not actually going to do that. We're going to try and remain the beauty, because obviously it being in a terrace is quite difficult to do that.
Nice, no, it looks good. I mean, you can definitely see there's a lot going on, a lot of material on board. So what is the real schedule of works? Like, what's the scope of works for this property?
So the main scope of works for the property were to tackle the outside building first, because that's where the most damp was coming from. We've actually managed to make the extension slightly bigger, and we're going to give it a better configuration to what it was previously, because even though it's quite a big space out there, the bathroom previously was really, really small.
And I think that's where a lot of added value can come into place in terms of looking at how you would like to use the property, how potentially the end user would like to use it, and making sure it's functional and thinking about who's going to buy the property and then meet all of their wants and needs and just tick things off to make sure that, you know, you're really going to find, whether it's rentals, whether it's sales, a really good end user.
100%, 100%.
So should we go and have a look outside?
Let's do it.
So we're now standing outside in what is going to be the kitchen and the bathroom. First thing I noticed is these massive walls. Like that's the first thing I noticed when I came to these properties in Wales. That you've got really thick walls everywhere, and that one is a doozy. What's going on over there?
It is. It's massive. Albeit the original extension was here, and like we discussed earlier on, it was built out of single skin parts of it, and it was just allowing the water to penetrate through the thermoblock. But these walls are the original retaining walls. So behind us, if you'll see there's an original fireplace. So originally this house was actually as big as the old extension, but for some reason in the 80s, they knocked it down and rebuilt like a 70s, 80s extension, which was not conforming to any building regs.
Yeah, no, that is. Well, we are excited to come back at some point and see it, and your plans in regards to exit, are you going to be refinancing or selling?
So we'll be refinancing onto a long-term product after this, yeah.
Nice. Should we go and check out upstairs?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're standing in bedroom number 1 of 3 on the first floor now. Now, I know there's a lot of, you know, when we're planning these refurbs, we put so many things in the spreadsheet and we're working out our costing. Was there anything that came up that you didn't expect or any additional costs?
So this is the stuff that we spoke about outside. So in South Wales, generally in the 1900s, like I say, when these were built, they were built for miners. So what they used to do from the mines, they had a lot of waste material, and they used to use the waste material in the builds. So quite often in the subfloors, there's no DPM. So essentially you just sat on soil. But luckily we've got a DPM in this one, so that saved us a bit of money.
Okay, so this is bedroom 2 of 3. Tell me what happened in here.
Yeah, so we knew there was an issue with a ridge tile, or the ridge in the roof essentially when we first viewed this. We've had today exposed the roof to see the extent of the damage, and as you'll see, some of the, well, quite often, a lot of, pretty much all the joists are rotten, so they need to be replaced, and then we need to sort out sort of the apex, the ridge of the roof up there. So we've now got daylight being exposed.
That's it, and I think that's where we say contingency. Particularly with properties that have been built over 100 years ago. That's 100 years of what ifs, maybes, and I don't knows. So whenever you're developing a project, whenever you're doing your refurb budget, you've always got to make sure you have a contingency at sort of a safe measure, 10%, but potentially a little bit more depending on what your margins are, because you just want to make sure that if anything does come up, you are in a position to deal with it. Okay, so that was a tour of the property, but before you tell us about the purchase price, the GDV and potential projected profits, I know that you're not actually originally from South Wales, so what made you choose this area to invest in and why?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not originally from South Wales. I did spend a small period here as a kid, moved from Sussex, went to secondary school here for a bit, and then moved back down to Sussex. And I always remember my mum buying a house with her partner at the time, and my family going, wow, it's so cheap. It always stuck in my mind. And when we built up a bit of capital, I knew where I was going to invest my money.
So I guess, realistically, you know, based on the starting capital, the barriers to entry of actually getting involved in property development, you've bought potentially 5 houses within 12 months. Trying to do that, you know, around the Brighton area is nigh on impossible unless you have a massive amount of starting capital or a big investor behind you. So a lot of people are often talking about, how do I get started in property, you know, with X amount of capital? And sometimes you can't always invest where it is that you live, but you can find an area where you can do that and you can still make it work. Well, I hope you can, because you're going to tell me about the numbers of this deal behind me.
Definitely.
So your purchase price was how much?
55.
And your legals and finance costs?
So lending legals would be 3,850.
And your bill cost?
42k.
And if you were going to sell this on the open market, how much do you think you could achieve?
Just over 134.
134, so that gives you a total profit of?
About 34k.
Oh, quick maths, 34,000. So when you refinance the property, is there going to be any money left in?
Yeah, there'll be a bit of money left in, about 8.5k.
Okay, and what will then be your annual return on investment?
54%.
So that's 54% return on investment. I think we touched on you doing BRRR, and the great thing is that there's actually that extra R, which is after you've done all of that, repeat. Only leaving in £8,000 means you have the opportunity to go and do that again. It's exactly what you're doing with 2 more properties in legals. I've really enjoyed coming to see your projects. It's been amazing coming to the valleys. We definitely want to come back and see when you
100%.
complete on those other 2 and see how this one looks when it's finished. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that like button. If you've got any questions for myself or Jamie, make sure you ask us in the comment section. We'll make sure we get back to you. Oh!